Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, listeners. So today we're going to go over part one of Peshawar Nights. Now, Peshawar Nights is a book about a dialogue that's taking place between Shia and Sunni scholars, and this was in the early 20th century, 1924 to be precise. And the Shia scholar that is part of this discussion, his name is Sultan al-Waisin al-Shirazi, and I believe that's how you pronounce his name. And the Sunni scholars or the Sunni participants are Hafiz Muhammad Rashid, Sheikh Abdul Salam, and Sayyid Abdul Hay. And Shirazi refers to himself in the novel as well-wisher, so we'll do the same as well. We're going to refer to him as well-wisher. Now, the discussion takes place over several nights in Peshawar, which is now located in Pakistan, but in that time it was located in India. So it's taking place over a course of several nights. So the book is divided into these separate nights. So we're discussing what took place in night number one. So there's three major questions that were asked, and then there was follow-up questions that were asked to the well-wisher, and he answered them really well. And one thing that I like about the book so far is that the dialogue is very pleasant. Both the Shia scholar and the Sunni scholars are very tolerant of each other. There's no bashing or throwing shades or anything as such. They're very tolerant and very respectful of each other. So that's something that's really good. Now, the first question that is asked is from Hafiz. He asks the well-wisher that, you keep saying that you're from the progeny of the Prophet. Can you please explain your ancestry? So the well-wisher then goes on to give his ancestry, which leads up to Imam Musa al-Kazim alayhi salam, and then from Imam Musa al-Kazim he then goes over all the Imams leading up to Imam Hussein, who is the son of Imam Ali alayhi salam. So now upon hearing this, Hafiz says, well, that means you're from the progeny of Imam Ali, not from the progeny of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the well-wisher says that he's from the lineage of the Prophet through his daughter Bibi Fatima alayhi salam. So Hafiz says that how is that so? Because it's the father whose lineage people follow, not the lineage of the mother. So hearing this, Shirazi says that, the well-wisher says that the same type of question was asked to Imam Musa al-Kazim by Harun Rashid, and how he answered it was that he asked Imam Musa al-Kazim alayhi salam asked Harun Rashid who was Prophet Isa's father, and Harun Rashid says he didn't have a father, so hence point proven. So we have in history a prophet who's part of the Abrahamic lineage through his mother. So why cannot the Imams or the grandsons of the Prophet be from his lineage through his mother? Because it has happened prior in history. And the second thing that Imam Musa al-Kazim alayhi salam mentioned was that in the Quran, in Surah Al-Imran, there is an entire verse about the Mubahila, where it was the Christians of Najran, and they pretty much were where the discussion was pretty much, you bring your sons, we'll bring ours, you bring your women, we'll bring ours, and you bring yourself, and we'll bring ours. So the sons mentioned in this particular ayat in the Quran, every single hadith, whether it's from the Shia resources or from the Sunni resources, specify that the Prophet took Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein alayhi salam as his sons. So if it's in the Quran that the Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein alayhi salam are the Prophet's he's saying that they're like his sons, so why can their children not be part of the Prophet's progeny? to which Harun Rashid accepted and was, very pleased to hear that answer. So just like that, even the Hafiz and the Sunni scholars accepted that response. And one thing that I question is that, regardless of which sect you're from, whether you're Shia, whether you're Sunni, all of us say Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, which is simply peace and blessings be on Prophet Muhammad and his holy progeny. So if in the salawat itself, we are accepting or admitting that, we are asking God to send his salutations and blessings, his peace and blessings on Prophet Muhammad and his holy progeny. So meaning we're accepting that there is a holy progeny, right? So then why question that? If he had no progeny, then why would we be sending our salutations to them, right? So it's one of those things that, you have to accept that that the Prophet has a progeny. Now, the second question that was asked was through one of the listeners, whose name was Nawab Abdul Qayyum, and he asked the well-wisher why she combined their prayers. And to which the well-wisher says that, even the Prophet used to combine his prayers. There's instances in both Sunni and Shia hadith that mention that the Prophet combined prayers. So Hafiz jumps in and says, you know what, yes, the Prophet did combine prayers, but that was only when there was some sort of he was on a journey, or when there was some sort of rainstorm or something like that was preventing him from separating those prayers. So that's when it was combined. And well-wisher then pulls up resources, Sunni references stating that there were other times that there was no such calamity or anything happening preventing the Prophet from praying the prayers separately. He had combined the prayers in his own home as well. So he even gave reference from Sahih al-Muslim. He gave reference from the Musnad, and he also gave reference from the Bukhari, stating that it's mentioned everywhere that the Prophet did combine prayers without there being any sort of natural reasons to do so. And one of the reasons that they would mention would be that it would be the overcast of clouds. Now, overcast of clouds, it does make sense if you're praying Zohar and Asr, where you weren't able to tell that it was Zohar time and all of a sudden it's Asr time, because there was an overcast of clouds and you weren't able to see the sunlight. But it doesn't make sense for Maghrib and Isha, because the sun is not even involved. Well, for Maghrib the sun is setting, and then Isha time is a lot later. Now, and the clouds and the sun have nothing to do with Isha time. So why were Maghrib and Isha being prayed together if it was an overcast of clouds problem? So he was able to prove that the Prophet did both. He combined prayers and prayed it separately. But in order to so that the reason why the prayers are combined is so that the Prophet's followers are not put through undue hardship and suffering of praying the Zohrain and Maghribain separately, because it could be very troublesome, and religion is not supposed to be something that is very troublesome. It's supposed to be easy. Now, the third question that was asked was regarding Imam Ali's grave, and why is it that it was discovered 150 years after he had died. And to this, the well-wisher responded that it was the Bani Umayyads who were very oppressive at that time, and they wanted to perhaps if they given the opportunity, they would desecrate the grave and, you know, do unquestionable things to Imam Ali's body, which is why it was part of his will that he wanted to be laid to rest in a secretive way. Nobody should know where his grave is. So that's Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein complied to the orders of Imam Ali alayhi salam, and he was then buried in the middle of the night. And nobody knows where. Nobody knew at that time where Imam Ali's grave was. So it was the next follow-up question that Hafiz asked was, why was it kept? Why was Imam Ali's grave kept a secret? And the well-wisher says that it was because of the Bani Umayyad, or the Umayyads, and their hatred for the Holy Prophet. They knew that things could happen to the grave. And Hafiz says, is it possible for a Muslim to violate the grave of another Muslim brother? And the well-wisher then says, well, there are, if you take a look at the Umayyad history, they have done unspeakable things to to Bani Hashim, and a great example of it was what they did with Zayd bin Ali bin Hussein's body. Zayd bin Ali is Imam Zainul Abidin's son, and there was a lot of atrocities that were happening at that time, and particularly towards the Bani Hashim. So Zayd decided to, go against the Bani Umayyah. Then he took his army towards Kufa, and what happened was that after he was killed in the battle, and his son dug his grave near the river and buried him, but they found his body, the Bani Umayyad, and they pretty much cut off his head, and had his body was placed in the gallows entirely naked for 4 years. And it was later on that Walid bin Yazid bin Abdul Malik bin Marwan became the caliph, and he got the skeleton taken down and burned. Then the ashes were scattered in the wind. Now the same thing happened to his son Yahya bin Zayd, and his body was hung up in gallows for 6 years, and later was found, and then there was a grave made for him, and there is a place of pilgrimage for him in Gurgan. Now the next question was, how was Imam Ali's body discovered, or his grave discovered? So for that, the answer that the well-wisher gave was regarding incident that took place at the time of Harun Rashid, where he used to hunt deers, and he noticed that when the hounds would also be hunting deers, the deers would go to this particular mound in Najaf, and the hounds would not go close to them. And he was surprised to see this, and he asked everybody, why is it that the deers are safe there, but and the hounds don't approach that particular area? And to this there was an old man who knew the answer, but he just wanted to make sure that he would be safe. Harun Rashid promised him safety, and he then disclosed that he had been there with Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam, and Imam Jafar Sadiq is the one who told him that this is where Imam Ali is buried, and that he was just visiting his grave. Now, upon disclosing this to Harun Rashid then confirmed with Imam Musa al-Kazim alayhi salam if this is in fact true, and Imam Musa al-Kazim did say that yes, Imam Ali is buried there. So Harun Rashid then, he restored the earth and built a stone structure in the honor of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Now, Hafiz was quick to say that, this doesn't really, well, we have evidence that Imam Ali's body could be in Kufa, or it could be in Masjid al-Kufa, it could be in Jannat al-Baqi, and it could possibly even be in Afghanistan. So, we don't really believe that Imam Ali's body is in Najaf, to which the well-wisher responded that, we take the word of his own progeny, his own children would know where their father's grave is. So if they're saying that it's in Najaf, we will believe that. And it was actually part of Imam Ali's will. And he stipulated that he wanted for few graves to be dug up, just in case, just to throw off the Bani Umayyad so that they don't know exactly where it is. So if there's multiple graves, they won't really be able to find his grave. Now, yeah, so that pretty much is the summary of the novel. I hope you found this useful, and inshallah, I'll try to keep up with the schedule, which is pretty much one review one night every 2 to 3 days, inshallah. And if you have any other comments, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and inshallah, you will hear from me soon with part 2. Bye. Khuda Hafiz.